All right, today we are constructing parallelograms. Okay, parallelograms are four-sided figures, quadrilaterals, that have two sides that are parallel and another pair of sides that are parallel. Their angles, different from a rectangle, don't always equal 90 degrees. But they will, when we have two across from one another, they will equal one another. Right? So with that basic information, we can go about this right here. We have parallelogram ABCD. They tell us that AB is going to equal 4.2 centimeters, BC is going to equal 7.3 centimeters, and the measure of angle ABC, which is included in these two sides, is 50 degrees. So the first place I've got to start is by sketching out my parallelogram. Now, they generally look like this. You have two sides that are parallel, just like we said earlier, and another two sides that are parallel, right? Keep in mind this is a sketch, so we're not using instruments, we're not using a straight edge, nothing like that. What we're trying to do is just get a bearing on where all of our measurements fit in and how this is going to work for us. So I'm going to put A, B, C, and D onto my parallelogram. They tell me BC is 7.3, so I will label that, and AB is 4.2, so we'll label that. Right? Then the measure of ABC right here, they said was 50 degrees. Okay? So from here I know exactly where I'm going to start. I'm going to use this angle and this angle because I've got an angle, this side and this side because I've got an angle right there. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to take my ruler and measure out a line that's 7.3 centimeters long. 7, and then I'm going to pull it out 1, 2, 3 more. Right? We're going to put endpoints on this, label it B and C, right? And then we've got an angle to create. So we're going to use our protractor, line it up with the endpoint, make sure that this line on my protractor is aligned with the line on my paper, and then go to this bottom right here, this bottom scale, and go to 50 degrees. Right? Once I've gotten there, I've got this, I can create the angle but just by making the line here. All right. You want to make this line longer than necessary so that you don't have to go back and redo it at all. Okay, so once I've done that though, I need to actually measure out this line and make sure that it's 4.2 centimeters. This is where my compass comes into play. It's got this nifty on this side, it's got centimeters, so I'm going to reset this to 4.2. I'm going to center the reticle on the point that I just used to make my angle, and then make an arc across my line. I'm going to go to the same side, or the other side, to point C, vertex C, and do the same thing, because I know this side over here is going to be the same length. Alright, so right now I've got two sides. I know exactly how far away I need to be, right? The last thing I need to know is how far this needs to be so that my vertex ends up here. Okay, so I know this one's 7.3. According to the properties of a parallelogram, this side's going to be the same length. So I can go back and just reset my compass to 7.3. Focus it on the vertex that I just made and create the second arc here. Where those intersect, it's my last vertex, and I can label these two A and D, just like I did in my sketch. And once I've done that, all I have left to do is connect our dots. Right, now we've perfectly constructed our parallelogram ABCD with lengths of 7.3 on both sides and 4.2 on this side. We know that this angle is 50 degrees, this angle is 50 degrees, and I know that these two angles are going to equal 130 each. Because, if I take 360, subtract 100, which would be 50 and 50 together, I get 260 for both of these angles. Dividing that by 2, I would get 130 degrees for each angle. Please make sure you're raising your hands if you have any questions. Otherwise, we're starting to focus on this. Thank you so much. Bye.